So, Minion Rush has been a topic fraught with controversy lately, a sentence that I really didn't think I would ever say. So to set the scene, recently I've been playing the old versions of Minion Rush again for a little trip down nostalgia lane, I suppose, and it's got me thinking about the current version of the game. It's kind of terrible. Now, I don't mean to switch up on Minion Rush Unity out of nowhere. I've been pretty vocal about the fact that I think the game has been pretty much saved by the massive update. For those that aren't aware, Minion Rush was rolled by the 5-year celebration update for a very, very long amount of time, and the recent Unity update was what came in to kind of save us from that content draw. And as I'm sure a lot of you who have been on my channel for a while will remember, I was very, very positive about the Unity update. I think the graphics are absolutely wonderful in the update, and I thought, for the most part, it added some pretty decent gameplay mechanics that kept me going for, I don't know, a good few months. But therein lies the problem. A few months. I want to break this video down into topics, but I want to make this very clear first. I think a good mobile game is kept up by replayability. A game that has a system that can be constantly replayed and you can come back to without it feeling repetitive or recycled. Let's take a look at old Minion Rush, for example. You have the Jelly Lab as your level progression system, so you can play through these levels as and when you feel like it, but let's say you get bored of that. That's fine, you have the events to compete against the world's best players. Let's say you get bored of that, that's fine, you can add your friends on the game and challenge them by sending them little, I don't know, difficult scores to beat. With that in mind, old Minion Rush was an absolutely fantastic mobile game. Seriously, it was way better than it had any right being. The thing that made old Minion Rush great is that it didn't treat its audience like they were stupid, and I think that's the biggest problem with Minion Rush Unity, is that the game is so significantly dumbed down because it's trying to appeal to the TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Roblox audience that seems to be dominating children everywhere at the moment. So before I get into the topics that I think can save Minion Rush Unity, I want to make one thing very, very clear. I do not think it is a bad game, fundamentally. I think if Gameloft are targeting these TikTok-brain children, then they're actually doing a fantastic job at exactly the type of content that's going to grab them. So frankly, it wouldn't surprise me if nothing I say here is going to be taken on board because, well, why would they need to? Nonetheless, Minion Rush has a weirdly dedicated community, and for some reason I've been considered its spokesperson for the past 11 years. So without any further ado, I'm going to get into points that I think could make Minion Rush significantly better and maybe even save the game for a more grown-up casual audience. This isn't even my biggest problem with the game, but oh my goodness, it is grinding me at the moment. Minion Rush is a game where if you're good at it, you can be really, really good at it. If you have a look at the game's leaderboards, you'll see that there is a drastic difference in scores depending on people's account level. That's because the more that you level up on the game, the better you are at it, so people who are a higher level will understandably have higher scores. The problem with this is that being good at Minion Rush at the minute is not even possible to prove, because if you look at the leaderboard, it is absolutely swamped with cheaters. When Minion Rush Unity first launched, one of the things that people were annoyed about is the fact that the game required a Wi-Fi network to launch. Now, Gameloft's response to this was that this would stop cheaters. Evidently, it hasn't. I don't even think the cheaters are the biggest problem here necessarily. This could easily be fixed by putting a limit on how high a score can go. I think it's pretty safe to assume that no one's getting a score over 20 million. Other than Danny C, if you know, you know.
Go take care of your daughter, Dale.
The daughter? No!
No, the problem is that when Minion Rush Unity first launched, the game's scores were absolutely broken. For whatever reason, it was possible for a score to be multiplied by 3 after the run for no reason. I'd say the most infamous example of this is me. I uploaded a video of me getting a 3.4 million high score, I think, or maybe 3.7. In-game, my score displays as 11 million. I did not get that score. And so many other players were affected by this, to the point where if you look at the game's leaderboards, if you can even get past all the cheaters, the top players did not achieve the scores that they have. I have never got an 11 million points high score. So now that they've fixed the scores in the game, good job by the way, I guess, it's impossible to beat your existing score that you didn't get. For me, this is very frustrating because I want to consistently get better scores in the game and get better at the game, but there's no point in doing that if I'm never going to beat the score that I have on my account. Like I said, this is a pretty minor and trivial issue compared to the other stuff that I'm going to talk about, but I thought I'd get it out the way because it is really, really annoying. Alright, now I'm not going to sit here and tell Gameloft to add back the Jelly Lab 1-to-1. I think the Jelly Lab was great for its time, but ultimately yes, people were getting bored of it by the time that it left the game. However, the Hall of Jam, it doesn't cut it in the slightest. For those that don't know, the Hall of Jam is Minion Rush's current progression system, and it has 300 levels, each one unlocking something new in the game, maybe a new location, a new gameplay feature, or a minion costume. I thought the Hall of Jam was fine, and I played through the whole thing and kind of enjoyed my time leveling it up. The problem is, once you beat the thing, you get a random chest every time you level up from that point on. So in essence, once you beat the Hall of Jam, there's not really any point to playing the game anymore. What I think Minion Rush needs is a reason to come back and play the game consistently that doesn't require the game needing a full-on update. I'm not a game developer, nor am I a production designer, so I don't really know the best way that Gameloft could do this. I just think that some kind of level progression would really help the game. I'm actually not opposed to the concept of the Jelly Lab coming back in full force, but I understand that this may feel a little bit tired by this point. It's just clear to me that the game needs something. It needs something where players are going to say, I can hop on Minion Rush today and do a few levels and then leave the game for a little bit and come back to it. This said, I don't think they should get rid of the endless running mode. I think there maybe should be a toggle between your level progression system and the endless running mode. This is evidently something people wanted back for a while, and I think just pressing play and running is a perfectly fine way to play Minion Rush. It just shouldn't be the only way. Okay, I feel a little bit bad talking about this now, given that they literally only just added the feature 2 days ago or something, but the Friends feature is very, very underbaked. For those that weren't around for it when Minion Rush was at its peak, Friends profiles were ridiculously in-depth. Now I think Gameloft have done a good job, first of all, on adding all of the game's statistics into your player profile. I think that's awesome. There's actually way more there than there should be. It's great. But I just think a little bit more customization, like maybe being able to change the backdrop that your minion is stood against, maybe some more veteran features as well, like maybe your special mission trophies should be there. I remember they were really fun on the player profile. I just think making a few quality of life tweaks to this feature would really help the game in a big way. So, there's a thing, obviously, about piracy, in that if you don't own a game, it shouldn't be that bad to pirate it because you're technically not stealing anything. This has been the big argument with cloud-based games for a very long time, and I was so frustrated when Minion Rush needed a Wi-Fi network to play the game. For those of you that are younger and don't really understand the problem with games being cloud-based, I'll break it down for you now. When you buy something on Minion Rush, let's say that you buy a token pack or maybe a costume, you are not given the data to the item, you're simply given an access key that gives your account the ability to own the item. So nothing that you buy is stored locally to your device, it's all on a cloud-based server. Well, I'm sure not many people would really want to do this. This basically means that you can't back up Minion Rush's data and play it in, I don't know, 20 years time. As I've proven, this is something you could do with old Minion Rush. You could easily just back up the data, and as you can see, this is a version that hasn't been playable in 11 years, and here it is on my iPad. In my opinion, in gaming, if you buy something, you should own that thing for life. You should have full control over the data that you have purchased. Considering that many of us have spent real money on this game, no pun, I kind of think that's despicable. I think owning our purchases and our data should be very important in gaming. I even think this should apply to things like Fortnite. As for how Gameloft would implement this, I don't know, I'm not a developer, but I do think that anything you buy on the game and any progress you make on the game should be locally stored data that can be backed up at the user's will. Let us own our progression and our items and our purchases. It's kind of only fair. Why is there so much stuff on my screen? I wouldn't even be able to tell you what half of these icons mean. All I do know is that about 70% of them are in-app purchases that it's trying to get you to buy. The fact is that a lot of the stuff on the Minion Rush main menu is accessible through the subcategories at the bottom of the screen, so I don't know why we need all this slop on the front screen. I know you're trying to keep the little Timmies constantly looking at their screen, but guys, I don't think they're that stupid. It just feels cluttered and messy and kinda gross to look at. And it's such a shame because the main menu of Minion Rush at the minute actually looks really nice, but you can barely see it through the billion icons on the corner of the screen. Again, this is a more minor thing, but I think the game would really benefit from a bit of a clean-up on the main menu. We can already access all of these features through sub-menus anyway, so we just don't need all this. Just get rid of it, please. Okay, this is a really big one. In fact, this might be the one thing that I desperately want Minion Rush to do, because I have no reason to play the game until they do this. Sort the events out. Currently, Minion Rush has a feature called Tournaments, which is a weekly and daily thing that players can play in, and the more that they play the game, the more trophies they'll get, and the person with the most trophies at the end of the day or week will get prizes depending on how high they scored on the leaderboards. Firstly, leaderboard-based Minion Rush is peak. It always will be. It's an incredibly fun game to compete in. The problem is that all of these tournaments are the exact same thing, and it doesn't really matter what you do in the game. You can get these trophies by doing anything, just by running, by collecting power-ups, by collecting bananas, anything. In the old version of Minion Rush, the events would be based on specific goals, such as how many turns can you make in a location, how many bananas can you collect, how many power-ups can you pick up. They would be focused on one objective, and players would be forced to use minion costumes or just lock in for hours at a time to beat specific objectives. I just think this is a way more fun way to compete in the game because it forces players to think outside the box. It forces them to avoid certain game mechanics and focus on others in order to focus on the objective at hand. So, just play the game isn't really a compelling challenge. I don't think anyone cares about the tournaments in Minion Rush at the minute, because you might as well just play the game on the main leaderboard. What is the point of these tournaments? I don't get it, okay? I don't get it. Where are Panda and Monkey King from the Chinese version? This is such a stupid nitpick, but like, guys, the Chinese version's been offline since what, 2018? Please just put these two guys in the game. It cannot be that hard. That would also be incredibly funny. Please do it. I think having back the ability to send challenges to friends would be really great. These should obviously be based on specific objectives similar to the in-game events. For example, your friend Bob managed to make 20 despicable actions in a run. He should be able to send this objective to a friend and they can go, nah, that's a difficult one, and then spend a while on the game trying to beat that and get an award for beating their friend. It's just simple things like this that can't be that hard to add, right? And I think they just add to the replayability of the game tenfold. Okay, so to conclude, what are my main points here? Add some sort of in-depth progression system that doesn't require the game needing an update. It should be like the Jelly Lab, but not a carbon copy. Rehaul the events of the game so that they're based on specific objectives and not just play the game. Sort out the cheaters and maybe reset the leaderboards so that those early scores from the beta versions of the game aren't there anymore, because I really want my actual score to be displayed on the leaderboard. I'm kind of proud of it. Make it so that your in-game friends can send you challenges for you to beat. Add those costumes that I mentioned for no other reason than it would be really funny. And frankly, I can't remember if there was anything else, but look, I think those things alone could very much save Minion Rush. I know that one of them is a massive ask, being the progression system. I know that that would take a while to work on, but I really think it would be worth it. I actually don't think the other stuff that I've suggested in this video would be that hard to implement based on the current build of the game. I know I'm not a developer, and I think Gameloft's team work incredibly hard, but I don't know, I think it'd just kind of be worth looking into whether these things would be easily implementable. But yeah, this video is done out of an absolute love for this game, as I'm sure you can probably tell. I have problems. I've been playing Minion Rush since pretty much its release, and recently I've become kind of disillusioned with the game. I don't know whether it's been me playing the old versions again or what, but something has shifted in me and I've thought, this game just doesn't cut it anymore. And that's really sad because I'm 22 years old. I, realistically am far beyond the target demographic for this game, and yet something kept me coming back all those years. That thing is gone at the moment, and I really think they can fix it. So send this video to Gameloft, and if they don't do anything about it, then beat them up with sticks. I'm joking. Gameloft, you're awesome. I love you.